actually absolve the private sector that also seeks to exploit whoever it can as cheaply as possible. For me, all of this will not give us last year's violence and looting at a wider scale. No. I think we'll wake up to another Ernesto Lemoive story. Do you know who he is? Do you know about the Burning Man from the, ironically, Ramaphosa settlement in 2008? We are headed right back there. That's what I see. That's why when I speak of a ticking time bomb, that's what I fear, going back to 2008. I'm scared of seeing James Ottaway's layout in a newspaper of a man being stabbed in broad daylight in Alex. That was 2015. I'm petrified at the idea that there are people who are watching Nhlanhla Lux and the likes and are going to create copycats that he will have no control over. He will have no say over how that will end. Every day there are tensions playing themselves out with law enforcement slow to act and government even slower when it comes to providing people with solutions. And when I speak of government, mind you, they were invited to the table today. We are lucky to have the MMC for community safety, well, MMC for safety in Joburg who's going to join us, but we couldn't get national government to speak. A lot of the issues that need to be answered speak to the borders, and we cannot get national government to the table. I went from speaking to the minister spokesperson to the deputy minister. I was promised a commissioner. I even asked for a spokesperson, and it is difficult to bring government into a conversation where there's a panel. They don't want to account to a number of people. They don't want their facts, as they say, challenged in any way. So where do we go when that's what you're dealing with as media? When the people you should be holding accountable, who should answer to you and I, ditch us. They dodge us at every turn. I just got a message now, only now, at 8 o'clock from the spokesperson, the minister spokesperson saying, oh no, he'll be on the radio tomorrow morning. I've been speaking to them since last week about being on the radio, but we're going to move forward. I want to understand, how do we make sense of what's happening in our country? Has the xenophobic train just gone off, ran off from us? Is there a way to stop it? That's what I want to understand. These tensions that we're seeing are going to boil over. Joining me to discuss this is Professor Lauren Landau, a senior researcher at the African Center for Migration and Society at WITS. I understood we'd have him for a few minutes, but I understand that we are lucky. He might stick around for a little bit longer. We've got Dr. Stephen Gordon, a senior researcher at the Human Sciences Research Council. I did say City of Joburg MMC for Public Safety, David Tembe, will be joining us in a little bit. But I also have a commentator, Wipita Madiboiti, Tumi Madiba, who's going to join us, who's pro-Tutula. In fact, he's called us South African journalists as being anti-South African, yeah? When we say, something's going to go wrong, he feels we're anti-South African. Thank you so much for joining us. You are, again, welcome to also participate in this conversation. Our numbers, again, are 011-883-0702 if you're in Joburg, 021-446-0567 if you are in Cape Town. You are more than welcome to send us voice notes, to SMSs. I'm finding those numbers. I always lose those numbers. I'll find them for you in 2 seconds, and you can use those numbers to get in touch with us and to share your thoughts on all of this. Are you worried? Is there something to be worried about? Are we getting it wrong? What is it that we don't understand about what's happening in our country? How do we stop the spark that's coming our way? What do we do? Thank you so much to all our guests who've joined us so far. I want to start with Professor Lauren. I want to start with you just very quickly. Would it be fair to characterize South Africa as xenophobic, or are we being extreme when we say that's what we are seeing?
Thank you for the invitation to be here and for tackling such a difficult question. I think Stephen might be able to tell us more about public attitudes because that's what he works from. But I think one of the challenges here is framing this as xenophobia, and clearly people are responding to that message. But really what you said in your introduction is spot on. Whether or not this is about xenophobia, this is also about people who are deeply fed up and who are willing to take the law into their own hands and establish a kind of governing system in the townships that can exclude anyone at will, based on the will and interest of whoever's in charge, whether that's Nhlanhla or whether that's another one of the Tutula-type groups, whether it's the truckers, who can say, you don't have a right to be here. You don't have a right to practice. And that is something that is dangerous to all of us. Let's keep in mind, a third of the people who've been killed over the years in what we call xenophobic violence are South African citizens. So this can go against anyone. And I think that's what is so dangerous about this movement.
You're talking now about the numbers we've seen in terms of people being killed over the years. Can you try and maybe just sum it up for us to look at what the numbers actually look like of incidents linked to xenophobia?
Yeah, well, we've been trying to count this through our XenoWatch platform over the years. Of course, xenophobic violence is not a crime category, so it doesn't show up in the police statistics. So this is working on newspaper reports, on reports that people have sent to us. And of course, there was the big peak. 2008, we all know about 60, 65 people were killed in a period of a couple of weeks, 100,000 or 200,000 people displaced. Since then, we haven't reached that kind of peak, but it's been 100 to 200 people per year who are being killed, millions and millions of rand of property being destroyed, and businesses and jobs being lost. And these aren't just foreign businesses, of course. The jobs are South African. Foreigners tend to hire South Africans, so when they close their shop, that also puts South Africans out of work. So we're talking about hundreds of people over the years. Yes, South Africa has a crime problem. South Africa has a problem with violence. Thousands of people have died over this period in unnecessary violence on the street, to other forms, to domestic violence. But there's a particularly dangerous form of violence that's gone here. And what's important is that it almost always goes unpunished.
Madiboiti, I want to bring you in. To me, what is your approach to Dudula from what I understand? What is it that you understand Dudula is seeking to do? And what is it about their actions that make you align yourself with them specifically? What are you seeing on a day-to-day basis that makes you take this position? Madiboiti, to me, I don't know if you can hear us. Struggling to get into me. I think he's struggling to connect. We'll just wait for him to come on board. Dr. Stephen, let me try and cross over to you now. There is an issue of attitudes that Professor Landau spoke of just now. What is the attitudes that we are seeing, and what must we make of it? Is it just